Today on the TMZ Podcast.
Welcome to the TMZ Podcast. Harvey Levin here.
Jason, Derek here.
So, I thought from the get-go that just in terms of engaging an audience, that the January 6th committee should have started with what Donald Trump was doing during the insurrection. And they did that last night. And I have to say, it was, you know, as much as personally as I had made assumptions and conclusions, it was shocking
To see it in real time.
And I almost go back to this thing that you almost start just to have started with this. Look, they've done a really good job, but it was so powerful, you know, to see
How his mind was working at the time.
Can I say that I think Donald Trump, and this is just an opinion, would have gotten pleasure if Mike Pence were killed.
Oh, jeez.
I mean,
that's a harsh indictment.
I know it is.
Very harsh.
It is very harsh. But when you see the 13 minutes of the Secret Service trying to get him out of that building, and you see how close they came, and the fact that they were telling their family, asking the dispatcher to tell their families goodbye, that it was that dire, and that Donald Trump was getting briefed and refused to do anything and knew about all of this, and was just inciting the crowd over Mike Pence, knowing they were armed, knowing they had broken in, watching television, seeing the whole thing unfold, and doing nothing. I don't know how else. I don't know what other conclusion to draw. I don't.
I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack yesterday. You do not represent our movement. You do not represent our country. And if you broke the law, you can't say that. I'm not going to. I already said you will pay. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defied the seat of justice. It's defiled, right? See, I can't see it very well. Okay, I'll do this. I'm going to do this. Let's go. But this election is now over. Congress has certified the results. I don't want to say the election's over. I just want to say Congress has certified the results without saying the election's over, okay?
But Congress is certified. Now Congress.
Yeah, right.
Now Congress.
I didn't say over, so let me see. Go to the paragraph before. I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack yesterday. Yesterday is a hard word for me.
Just take it out. The heinous attack.
Good. Take the word yesterday, because it doesn't work with the heinous attack on our country. Say on our country. Want to say that?
No, keep this.
My only goal was to ensure the integrity of the vote. My only goal was to ensure the integrity of the vote.
Compelling testimony that I heard last night. A lot of things are getting a lot of play this morning. More compelling than anything I've seen sort of repeated, a lot this morning was Pat Cipollone's testimony. He's the White House counsel. His testimony for a long time was held under wraps. He wasn't permitted to testify. He finally did. He said that he was in the White House near the president for 2 hours, starting at about 2 o'clock on January 6th. And every single person in the White House, including Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner,
Everybody.
and he literally said every single person in the White House, other than the president, was imploring him to quell the violence. And he refused. And as a matter of fact, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Milley, said that he put in a call to the White House attempting to get the president to act. The president refused to take his call. The president refused to take a call from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. This is the highest-ranking military official in the country.
He wanted this
one,
insurrection to go on.
and the president refused to take the call.
It was powerful testimony, but seeing his outtakes was the most powerful for me. Because you got to see him. He can't say, this guy's a rat fleeing from the ship. I didn't really react that way. You have to see him.
I want to go back to something. Yeah. Tell me I'm wrong.
Oh, about him wanting to see Pence dead?
Mm-hmm. Tell me I'm wrong.
You want to, Jason?
I don't think he wanted to see Pence dead.
Yeah,
but I do think that if it happened, it happened. Ivan Drago style. If he dies, he dies. But I don't think I guess there's a slight difference between that and actually wanting him to
He
die.
felt-
Would he say something like he had it coming? He shouldn't have
would
done
say
that.
that.
He betrayed me. He might have been.
Well, I'm not sure what the difference is. The line gets
there's
so
not
blurred.
much. There's not much of a
yes.
difference.
And you know, his last words when he walked back into the White House after finally delivering the speech to the Rose Garden was that Mike Pence essentially betrayed him.
Yes.
Yes.
And
the thing he cares about
and
most
that's
is
what
loyalty.
and
blind loyalty.
it was all about Mike Pence. He incited the crowd with that tweet after 2:00 in the afternoon, you know, by saying Mike Pence didn't have the courage. He was inciting the crowd with Mike Pence. He heard the chants. He knew what was going on. He was getting briefed. The Secret Service felt they were going to die. I mean,
He shared the outrage of the people who stormed the Capitol. That was the problem. He shared their outrage about the results. Whether he's lying in his own head or not,
do you
that's
think
why he wasn't.
do you think Donald Trump knew that there was a real possibility that Mike Pence was going to be killed in that Capitol?
I don't know if he thought that.
Yeah.
He might have. Look, he might have. I can't get into the
Remember,
man's
he was
head.
getting briefed.
Yeah. No, he was getting briefed that armed rioters were storming the Capitol.
And that people were hearing "hang Mike Pence." I mean, they were talking about this on television.
It's hard not to connect those
that
dots.
he knew were armed and didn't want
Yeah.
metal detectors and the whole thing. It's rough. It's not a good look
Harvey,
for him.
do you
but
think that he thought so far as to say, if they hang Mike Pence, I can still hold on to power? Like, the thought was that premeditated and that forward thinking?
I don't know how. I don't think Donald Trump is a forward thinker.
You think he was just?
I think he thinks in the moment.
He was emotional, and his emotions.
He thought Mike Pence was going to be the key to unlocking this. I mean, again, who was he calling? I mean, the idea that a president of the United States would tell the White House photographer, do not come in here and take pictures of me. He knew what he was doing was wrong. I mean, that's why you say that. I mean, you're recording history. You know, when 9/11 happened, George Bush was photographed. You know, I mean, that presidents just do that. It's part of history. Right. This is part of history. He wouldn't let anybody photograph him. There were no White House logs. There was nothing. And I don't know how you can not connect those dots at some point. That he was angry at Mike Pence. He incited the crowd over Mike Pence. People were screaming, hang Mike Pence. The Secret Service was saying, we can't get out of this building.
He had previously been told that the people in the crowd were armed. They were now storming the Capitol, which you could see on television.
I think he wanted to hold on to power. I don't think he wanted Mike Pence to die. But to your point, if Mike Pence died in his quest to hold on to power, I don't think he's upset. That's how I think his mind works. I don't think he wanted them to hang him. I don't think he's a violent guy. The guy didn't, do you think he's a violent person?
I think in that
bloodthirsty.
No,
I just
think
don't
in
see
that
him that way.
moment. I think he lost his mind in the moment. Although this morning, a video surfaced, which I thought was pretty innocuous, of Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer on the phone from the basement.
No, that was last night in the hearing. That came out in the hearing.
That came out in the right, exactly. Yeah. Oh, sorry. That came out in the hearing. The two of them sort of imploring building security to clear the crowd so they get back to the people's business. Donald Trump went on Truth Social, seeing the video of Mitch McConnell saying, we need security in here to clear this building so we can continue on with the Senate's business. He went after Mitch McConnell for asking for the building to be cleared and security to clear the building. He went after him this morning in the most, I forgot exactly what he said, in the most harsh possible criticism. And I'm thinking, he didn't want Mitch McConnell to want security to take control of the situation. It's bizarre that he really did.
No. You know why he didn't want it? Because they were going to certify the election. That's what this was about. He did not want this election certified. Anybody who, Chuck Schumer, obviously, Mitch McConnell, Kevin McCarthy. I mean, that is when we kind of knew it, but when Kevin McCarthy is saying this guy needs to resign, this is awful, and now Kevin McCarthy's in his pocket again.
Kevin McCarthy's about to become Speaker of the House in a few months.
But that's what this is all about. His singular focus was delay this election so that state legislatures can commit fraud and do what the people didn't want.
So did he want Mike Pence to be killed, or did he think if Mike Pence dies, it necessarily delays certification? You have to have the vice president there to certify.
When I say he wanted him dead,
I'm coming around.
Yeah, I'm coming around. No, I know. What I'm saying is he saw this was a real possibility. When you don't stop it and you have the power to do it, what else do you conclude?
Yeah. I think he would think he had it coming. His decision
but
unfurled this. I don't think he wanted.
But
him
there
to
is
die.
the point.
He
By the
had
power. I know what.
No. The Constitution makes it so that Mike Pence has to be there for certification. Without the vice president, constitutionally, I don't know how you certify. And the only thing that could really stop certification is the removal of the vice president. Maybe kidnapped instead of killed. I don't know.
Well, look,
Yeah,
we know there was a chance he was going to get killed. We now hear that loud and clear.
The president knew that at the time.
When you say, Derek, that he felt he had it coming, where is the space between he felt he had it coming and he kind of wanted it to happen? Where is that space?
There's not much space. I just don't think he is a thinker in those terms. There isn't breathing room, as you're saying. I just don't think he thinks in those terms. I think he thinks, I want to hold on to power, and whatever I need to do to hold on to power, I'm okay with.
Well, that's why I'm saying this was so shocking last night.
Yeah.
And I want to say just one other thing.
Bill Maher called it.
Well, of course, but Adam Kinzinger's speech at the end was so incredibly powerful, stirring, and rang so true. It was just,
and it will fall on deaf ears.
It will. Well, I don't know.
For people who are supportive of
Trump.
but
you know,
he was powerful.
No, that's not who they're speaking to. They're not speaking to the people who
he was trying to speak.
You know who they're speaking? No.
We should all agree on at least this one point.
Right, but you know who he's really speaking to? Independent voters.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. You're never going to get Trump people to, people at this point to come around. That's not going to happen.
Right.
There are a lot of independent voters in this country.
I will say this is the first, and I'm not making this up. I borrowed this from somewhere. That this is the best thing the Democrats have ever done, the coordination of this hearing.
Yes.
And only because 2 Republicans came on board and really held the ship together.
100%.
Democrats are so bad at this.
They're feckless.
And Republicans are so good at this. The presentation, and they needed, Liz Cheney has been the breakout
amazing.
star. Now, she's going to be unemployed in a few months, but she's been the breakout star of this whole thing. She has a future to do whatever she wants with the right political climate.
And isn't it interesting?
And
And isn't it interesting that Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger are so conservative,
yes.
yet
Liz Cheney is one of the single most conservative people in
I
the
know.
entire U.S. Congress.
That's why this is working, right? You have two really deeply conservative values. Dick Cheney is one of the most conservative people we think of. His daughter is extremely conservative, and yet she's speaking in such forceful terms against Donald Trump. That's what's powerful. If this were run entirely by Democrats, this would.
But you know
it's not
why?
That they're feckless,
But, no,
it's that
no.
it wouldn't be listened to. It would be seen as partisan.
Do you know why? Because we're so used to everybody towing the party line. If you're a Republican, you always do this. If you're a Democrat, that's why people are so angry at Joe Manchin. How on earth can you turn on the Democrats? Because it's always you've got to be either a Democrat and if you break, you're not, or a Republican. If you break, you're not. What they've shown is no. We can look at individual things that happen and make decisions, and those decisions don't necessarily always align with the party that you're in. That's really healthy.
And the messenger matters. Adam Schiff could have spoken as well as Adam Kinzinger. He's a perfectly great speaker. It just wouldn't have been as forceful. It would have been seen as a partisan hack talking about Trump. Kinzinger and Cheney are essential. They're the linchpins to this working.
Kinzinger had shades of Barack Obama speaking last night.
Because of who he is, though, right? I don't know. It was awesome. I don't want to take anything away from him. I just want to.
I think we're all on the same page on this.
The point it works is he's that message.
Okay. Gosh. Let's talk about Amber Heard for a minute. What a ridiculous appeal. I don't understand.
Got to play the hand you're dealt.
No,
it's the only hand she has.
Okay, so let's explain.
Okay, so Amber Heard now is actually appealing the jury verdict. So all of the stuff that we've covered about this juror coming on the scene who was the son rather than the father who got summoned, those were post-trial motions. After the verdict, you try to say, hey, all this stuff went wrong, undo the verdict, give me a new trial. Now all that's done. The post-trial motions are over. She has now filed an appeal where she goes to an appellate court and presents what she sees as flaws in the lower court in allowing these things to go before the jury. That should result in a new trial or reversal of the verdict. We don't know exactly what she's saying in there, but here's her comment about because all we have is the notice. We don't have the brief yet. We believe the court made errors that prevented a just and fair verdict consistent with the First Amendment. So it sounds like she's saying the types of questions that were presented to the jury should have never gone before the jury
They're saying
because
there
they were
should have
within
never
the
been-
ambit
No.
of my First Amendment
No.
right.
They're saying she's saying there should never have been a jury trial. There should never have been a trial, period.
Same thing.
Well, no, that it's not that it shouldn't go before the jury. It's that there should be no trial because she's saying that what I said in the Washington Post was simply freedom of speech.
Right. I should have won on summary judgment or motion to dismiss.
So
Right.
Yes.
So she's arguing the First Amendment. It's important for everybody to understand that the First Amendment runs, it gives you absolute right to say whatever you want until you get to certain points, right? Fire in a crowded theater, you have a First Amendment right to speak until it puts people in a clear and present danger. You have a First Amendment right to speak another one is until you lie, until you say something false, and that's defamation, and there's other elements to defamation.
Yeah, that tends to subject people to scorn and ridicule, which it did with Johnny Depp.
Right, but she says that what I said was not by the legal standard defamatory. And regardless of what a jury said, a jury doesn't get to determine what by a legal standard
That's
is
right.
defamatory. They get to say whether she said it and whether it caused
Is
damage.
there any
And the
any
standard,
merit?
by the way, for public figures is that has to be malicious. They needed to find
Is there
malicious.
any merit in what she's
I
saying?
think there's some, and Derek and I have talked about this at length, that the statements that he alleged she made that resulted in the finding of defamation were not really factual statements. She never said Johnny Depp hit me.
I
They
know.
weren't
She never said that.
susceptible of disproving as a fact.
If she said shmani shmep, would that have made a difference?
No, but there's case law. There's case law on that.
And by the way,
There's case law on that.
but it's clear she's talking about
But
Johnny Depp.
it's not that she's not talking about Johnny Depp. She never says he hit me, though. She said, I am the
Victim of domestic
Well,
violence.
no, I think she said
Yes.
I'm a survivor of domestic violence, but she never identifies him
I know.
in that statement.
I know.
But
And she also doesn't say, on June 10th, he slapped me across the face, which would be a factual statement that can be disproven as defamatory. That's not the way the op-ed read. The op-ed read in very generalized terms about survivors and the importance of speaking out. Look, she might have something.
we're
think
making a
she's
very
got-
picayune legal point.
I think she's got
the
nothing.
the chance that she overturns is
Nothing.
close to zero.
Yeah.
But
So I want to give you an argument.
Yeah.
I want to give you an argument. I realize this would probably not fly, but if you got to choose something, because I think the First Amendment thing's ridiculous.
Okay.
So what if, and I realize going in, this is probably not going to fly, but what if her lawyers said, look, this was a trial like O.J. Simpson. You knew that there was going to be massive publicity. And if you didn't know it, by the time you started jury selection, you clearly knew it because you saw everybody was covering it. And all of a sudden, on social media and especially TikTok, people were going nuts. The judge should have sequestered that jury the way they sequestered them in O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson was a 9-month trial, and that jury was sequestered. This was much less time. It wouldn't have been as onerous, but it was necessary to preserve the integrity of the jury because of what was going on in social media, and especially TikTok. And nothing was objective. Everybody had point of view, and the point of view was clearly against Amber. So it was impossible for that not to taint the jury. And the argument should be that jury should have been sequestered.
Threshold question: did they make a motion prior to the trial to sequester the jury?
I don't know.
Let's assume they did, so we don't have a waiver
I think
idea.
they might have an argument, right? Clearly, this jury, well, not clearly. There's reason to suspect this jury was influenced by outside influences, and there's reason to suspect that the judge should have known that going into the trial, this would be susceptible to that sort of same kind of outside pressure.
It's an extremely hard argument
It's
still
extremely.
to
The
make.
judges have a lot of leeway, but I don't think they ever made the motion. I don't think Amber's people
Suppose
ever
they
made the
did.
motion. Yeah, well, suppose they did. Then I think the fact they didn't appeal that, they didn't cite that as a grounds for appeal.
Oh, yeah, but
that we know.
look, I'm
We're
just
just in
saying.
a hypothetical
Well,
world.
we may see it. There were a bunch of sort of pretrial motions.
Is it possible a judge would say that because the times are different? Remember, it's different. O.J. Simpson was so unique, and I covered it every day. It was my life.
Yes.
And when I look at Amber Heard, it's the only thing since O.J. Simpson that feels like O.J. Simpson to me.
Yeah, agreed with that.
But let me. So this was a civil suit, and OJ was obviously a criminal trial where they sequestered the jury. There was a double homicide. It's extraordinary to sequester juries. Do the judges ever sort of do it for a civil trial because it's such an inconvenience.
I don't remember.
for jurors to be pulled from their family and isolated in hotels for that long. It's an extraordinary case. Maybe this is the case that you do it in that's civil, but sequestration is a big deal. It doesn't happen often. It's extremely rare. OJ, obviously, it happened for a long time, but that was a big criminal case.
It was a big, but again, how long was Johnny? A month? A little less?
Yeah, maybe around 4 weeks.
You could find jurors.
But I think it happens in civil cases, and I think it's up to it's within the purview of the judge to determine that this judge.
A lot of discretion.
I'll tell you. I will say this: after this trial, there will be lawyers in high-profile cases that are going to ask for this the next time around.
Right, because the one accepted truth through all this is that the jury was influenced by social media and by the public.
Well, and also
judges who get that motion now will have to think long and hard about sequestration.
And there's a sea change now. That Johnny Depp was a watershed moment in that social media was reporting the case.
Yes,
this was not traditional media. It wasn't broadcast media. It was social media, TikTok.
It was being memed as it was happening.
And there's no objectivity in it. I mean, I'm not sure there's objectivity generally in news, but
they're not even endeavoring objectivity though on TikTok. They're making fun of Amber.
Tweeted by I hate Johnny. Tweeted by I hate Johnny.
Amber,
which may be healthier than people who pretend to be objective and aren't.
Well, fair enough.
I'm serious.
Fair enough. Yes,
I'm actually serious.
No, you're right.
It's very clever on all sides. The way media has a bias that they pretend to make look objective.
With platitudes like where fairness comes or whatever, but then they say something completely unfair.
Of course, and in a way, so it's out in the open. You know how people feel, and either you embrace it or you don't. But they controlled the reporting of this case. And that's why I think maybe at some point in the future, when there's another high-profile case, they're going to ask for sequestration.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all.
Better argument.
Okay, we will see you Monday. Have a good weekend, everybody.
All right, thanks, guys.